Hello, everybody. You're speaking to Karen Windera from South Africa, and I'm right here in Sandton, between Sandton and Alexandra, one of the townships based in South Africa. Joined with me today is Jeffrey Mlawudzi, who started a bike cycling company here in Alex. So one of the goals that we're talking about today is Wheels of Change for Clean Energy, which is looking at how cycling has been implemented in Alexandra to help ensure that people have affordable clean energy to travel between Sandton and Alex and other various destinations. I mean, when you think of Johannesburg as a city for cycling, you never actually think about it like that because it's full of taxis, it's full of the Gautrain. I mean, you've got a lot of different modes of transport. So bikes are one of the least most used transport modes here in South Africa. And one of the reasons is because people don't actually see it as a means of transport because it's been stigmatized that cycling is actually for the poor. But one of the things that Jeffrey is trying to implement within South Africa is that cycling should be used efficiently and also cannot just be used by poor people, but it's actually a great way to cycle. And I mean, you lose some calories on the way. So yeah, Jeffrey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are yourself?
I'm good, thank you. So could you please just tell us a bit more about what cycling initiative you started in the township of Alexandra?
Thanks for that beautiful introduction and for the beautiful introduction of the topic. I'm Jeff again, and I started a company called Boovie Tours in the township of Alexandra. Boovie Tours concentrates on bicycle tours around the township of Alexandra, but we have what we call bicycle hire. Bicycle hire allows people from the township of Alexandra to hire the bike between Alex and Sandton. So they can move from Sandton into Alex on a bike. They can then rent it in a very small amount because looking at the distance, just like 3 streets away, right? So you really don't need to travel this long street, and it's affordable doing it on a bike than doing it in a car. And there's just a lot of benefit that you get as well from cycling between these two places as well.
Okay. And what exactly what challenges are you currently facing in terms of infrastructure and cycling within Johannesburg?
Nice. So we do face a couple of infrastructure problems, but I think the city is actually dealing with it now. So when we're looking at, actually behind us now, there's a construction, there's a bridge which is being constructed between Sandton and Alex that will accommodate pedestrians and cyclists. So this bridge will actually connect Sandton and Alex. And it was not safe when this bridge was not yet constructed, and now it's a bit better because there are bicycle lanes in between these two places, Sandton and Alex. So it is making it a bit easier for people to cycle in between. So we used to have problems of accidents where drivers will knock off the cyclist, when you're passing through the street. And you know how Johannesburg drivers are sometimes.
Yeah.
But luckily, the city heard our noise and they decided to construct bicycle lanes in between these two townships and around Johannesburg in some places as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just to give context about this bridge, in 2015 this bridge actually collapsed and a number of people had died.
Yeah.
And this bridge was actually used by pedestrians and cyclists to join into Sandton area.
Yes.
I think we'll give you a bit of a tour as we get down there. It's just that it's dark, 7 p.m. to be exact at this time. So I hope you'll bear with us in terms of our technology and the lighting. So Jeffrey will just give us a bit of a tour, showing us some of the bicycle lanes that have been implemented within Alex and why it's such a problem at the moment.
So, thanks. Okay, perfect. So, I'll just give you a short tour of just a brief history of what is Alexandra and what is Sandton. So Alexandra is a small township, the first township in Johannesburg that was found in 1903, 1912. It became a freehold township. And a township it's actually a legal place of staying in Johannesburg. So when you stay illegally, then it becomes a township. So it has a population of plus minus 1.1 million, 700,000 people. It's actually very condensed, so there's plus minus 4 or 5 people living in one room. So it's a bit challenging to afford a couple of things such as transport, but there is Alexandra is situated on the north of Johannesburg, closer to Sandton. Actually, we're just 3 streets away from Sandton. So Sandton is the richest square mile of Africa at the moment. So we're trying to, a lot of people in Alexandra are employed by Sandton. So when a lot of people are employed by Sandton, that means that there's a lot of commuters in between these two places for job as well. So a lot of people will work. As we can see, a lot of people are still working in between these two places. These are people who are working in restaurants. These are people working in hotels that have night shifts or that are coming back from night shift, from the day shift. These taxis cost a bit more. People prefer to walk or to cycle. So this is the cycle lanes which has been constructed by our city. Our previous mayor he actually initiated the project, and the current mayor he then stopped and he reinitiated the project again. So the project was to build the bicycle lanes in between these two places and the bridge, which will allow the commuters which are walking at night to be safe, because there's lighting. There was not lighting before. There was not lighting at all. So now it's more beautiful, and now you can cycle at any time of the night you want, or any time of the day that you want. During the day, the school children as well, those a bit wealthier students who afford to study in Sandton, they actually walk in between Sandton and Alexandra. So the bicycle lanes have helped a lot, as I told you. Let me take you through. So what you see here is a board. The board that has literally would allow people as a passage of Alexandra to know that the cars are not allowed to drive here, and cyclists cycle on the other side, and the pedestrians will be walking on the other side. People do use this road for different reasons, but mostly for walking and so for this, they usually use this road for different kind of things. For exercising, they use it for cycling and for walking as well. So, but the challenge is that with cycling, there's not too much bicycles yet. So we still have a bit of stereotypes when it comes to cycling. So a lot of people in Johannesburg have, I'll say, a problem of associating bicycle with negativity thoughts. So they will associate a bike with poor people of transport. You know, that such things that where people will say cycling is just a mode of transport for poor people. Again, they will say because Johannesburg is very hilly, so it's 1,700 meters above sea level. So it's very tiring to cycle around Johannesburg. But in between Alex and Sandton, there's not too much hill. There's one hill actually that connects Sandton and Alex. But it's actually doable to cycle. And the challenges are quite a lot of things that we face in between these two townships inside of cycling. So that's why you will see now it's hardly to see a person cycling. You can see them at 5 o'clock before the day ends, or 5 o'clock in the morning when they're going to work, security guards and others. But otherwise, it's a bit challenging now to see a cyclist walking around Alexandra. Yeah.
All right. And could you please take us a bit of a tour to see the bridge? I mean, most of you won't be able to see it because it's 7 p.m. at the time, and it's quite dark at the moment. But I'm hoping to show you guys exactly what the bridge looks like, which would be the one that's connected. Sorry about that. I think that was a glitch. Anyways, so could you please tell us a bit more about, like, why do you think cycling is important? Why do you think people need to start cycling in Johannesburg?
Well, cycling is important in every, not only in Johannesburg. Okay. A very hilly place where, comparing it with other developed countries, you can name it as US or UK, they use bicycles as a mode of transport. Looking at Netherlands as well, we're not coping, but we need to advance. Transportation is the most important part for the economy.
Yeah.
And if people cannot afford a reasonable and affordable transport, then the economy stays stagnant, so it doesn't grow as much as it needs to.
Yeah.
So as people are not affording these taxis, as people are not affording this new but they're not affording Uber as well and other sort of transport.
Yes.
And they are middle class people who do afford to have their own cars, to have that. But again, you're stuck in the traffic. Even if you're middle class or richer,
yes.
You need to find a mode of transport that will take you to and from work in a very shorter time or shorter space of time.
Yes.
And people are doing it mostly on bicycles, and which is the most soon You can do it on a scooter, of course, but it's not eco as much as the bicycle would be.
Yeah.
Right? So looking at a bike would be the best eco-sustainable business, or the eco-sustainable transportation, where people can go to and from the city or their works with their employment areas with a bike.
Yeah.
And it has been going successfully in countries like Netherlands, maybe because it's flat there,
Yes.
and again maybe it's because they have. We have used bicycles a lot in Johannesburg before.
Yeah.
We stopped because cars came, taxis become cheaper.
Yeah.
But again now we have to go back into bicycles because there is more traffic, there's more cars on the road,
Yes.
and there's more challenging in terms of getting to your day, especially when you're walking
Yeah.
between Sandton and Alex. You get tired easily. When you get to work, you're tired. When you get home, you're tired. You're not doing your house chores. You're
Yeah.
not attending your children. And with a bike, you get to cover that distance shorter.
Yeah.
You get to cover that distance a bit faster.
Yeah.
And if you do get tired, but you won't get tired as much as walking, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And I mean, you touched Jeffrey right here is also an Uber driver, and one of the challenges, one of the challenges that is currently happening in South Africa is the taxi Uber strike, which is that taxis are against Uber drivers within South Africa, and there've been various types of violence against Uber drivers, and it's seen as a challenge because not a lot of people can afford taxis, which are a bit more expensive than Ubers. Actually, they're metered taxis, just to be correct. So, Jeffrey, I don't know if you've ever experienced any type of violence in terms of that, and how do you tackle that? Yeah.
Well, I won't speak on behalf of Uber. Uber has its own management that will talk on behalf of them. And I'm an Uber driver to make an extra cash for my business as well.
Yeah.
But there is a bit of challenge in terms of Johannesburg and other. I just read the news today that they're having challenges in London. They just lost their operating license.
So it's a global
it's
problem.
It's a global problem.
Right?
So it's actually, I think it's a global problem because the world is not agreeing with both. Now things are not the same as we had. So Uber, previously we used to have meter taxis, which are very expensive taxis now compared to Uber. If an Uber will charge an estimate of 7 rand per kilometer,
Wow.
a meter taxi will charge at suck-thumbed price, and it will just range from anything from 15 upwards and per kilometer. So people are not really, customers are not really into that. Not only price, but comfort and a lot of things that we as Uber drivers are bringing into this market. But not to dwell most on that, there is a bit of violence between these two because there's a bit of I would say they don't accept that the market is changing, and they will accept in time, but it's just that it's hurting a lot of Uber drivers and it's hurting a lot of drivers as well. And we do have challenges as well as drivers that we need to consult with Uber, but the most biggest one is that challenge of meter taxi and Uber fights. But it's not affecting us so much, and we are enjoying our trips as well, and spending a lot of fuel instead of bicycles. So
Exactly. So, maybe you can also carpool here and there. For those of you who just tuned in right now, we just got to the bridge, which is being constructed for pedestrians and cyclists from Alex to Sandton. I'll just turn the camera around so that you guys can have a look-see.